And aloha! Welcome to the BlueNote Fan Report. I'm Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, and I'm your host on the only program that is by a fan, for the fan, and absolutely about you, the fan.
So are you Guy or Guy?
Ed Danowski.
You're not in Hawaii?
I wish.
To Mr. Garry Unger.
Hi, Guy.
Hey, sir, how are you?
And Brock, how are you doing?
Doing great, sir. Doing great. Honored to have you on the show.
You know, I had the privilege while I was in the forces, in the Canadian Armed Forces, to take the Stanley Cup to Afghanistan. Only hockey fans would deploy to Afghanistan where it's 105 to 135 degrees every day, and they'd take their hockey sweaters and play ball hockey. This is the year for the Leafs. The Leafs are going to win it all this year. One of the players down the line said, "You got to be kidding. The Taliban got a better chance of winning the cup."
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
And aloha! Welcome to the BlueNote Fan Report on a special night. We are scheduled to appear is Garry Unger. He's not backstage yet, but we did a test earlier about an hour before the show, and it worked. I haven't got a text from him yet, so I'm waiting, but he is scheduled to appear. He is going to be on, and it is a big, big night. We're coming on an hour before the game. This is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun tonight. I'm going to get to your comments. I'm going to get to your questions. I'm waiting. I'm watching the backstage for Garry. This is going to be a lot of fun tonight. So let me get to your questions. Jeff, the game starts in about an hour, 9 o'clock Central Time. Brad Pond says, game day, win this one and relax the rest of the season of the playoffs. Actually, that's not a true statement. They need to win. They need 3 points total, or at least one more point than the Kings get. So it's close. Ryan, this was a gift. I'm not sure where I got it. It's a great shirt though. Kev, how you doing? And welcome to the show, man. Ian says, let's go Blues. I'm with you. Jeff says the shirt suits you. I thought it would, so I'd read it. E says, hi. Welcome to. Welcome. Like I said, I'm waiting on Garry. We did a test. Oh, he's calling me. Hold on. Let me. So, hey, I'm going to bring Brock on while I'm trying to work on this. Brock, can you handle the show for a few minutes while I try and work with Garry? You're muted.
I'm back. Okay, folks. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. Here's why I'm excited. I broke out my Stanley Cup champion shirt because for me, I want to let those suckers know we got one and they don't. So that's important as we're moving forward tonight because I think it's time for the Blues to kind of reassert their authority against the Golden Knights. Now, again, let's take us back to earlier in the season. You know, the Blues were in a point where they had beaten Vegas, I think it was like 10 games in a row. So, again, they're not unbeatable. We can beat them. Again, when we had some struggles with them.
Okay, Brock. Brock, I'm going to ask you to step away, and we're going to bring in my special guest. I am so excited tonight. I know you've talked to him before, but you know we're gonna bring him in. Please give a big, huge BlueNote Fan Report welcome to Mr. Garry Unger. Hey, Garry, how you doing, sir?
Hi, guys. I'm trying to figure out how I get my head on this picture here.
Yeah, well, it's coming in and out. You're a little low, or you're a little high. So if you can go low, there you go, right there. That's perfect. All right, is that your grandson there, sir?
Yeah, that's Jackson, my grandson. He's 11.
Hi, Jackson. How are you?
Good.
Good. Aloha, Jackson.
He's from Hawaii.
I'm in Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Yep. I'm a Blues fan living in Hawaii. I hear you play soccer. Is that right, Jackson?
Yep. I have a soccer game tomorrow.
Oh, well, hey, good luck. You know, St. Louis is getting a soccer team. Maybe when you grow up, you're going to be a star striker for the St. Louis City Soccer Club. What do you think to that?
Yeah.
There you
He's
go.
a hockey guy, though, too.
Oh, yeah. You playing hockey too?
Yeah.
What's
Soccer,
what-
football.
what's your position in hockey?
Center.
No.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
a center. He's going to be a Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
Be like your grandpa. Your grandpa was a center too, right?
He's a pretty good hockey player.
Oh, that's great, man.
He's a good athlete.
So, hey, how are you doing tonight, Gary? Having good fun?
Yeah, great.
Right?
Hoping the Blues are going to get these guys out of their taillights here.
Yeah. This is a big game. Remember a little history. Oh, 2 years ago today, May 7th, Game 7, Pat Maroon scored the overtime goal, double overtime, to win to take the Blues to the conference finals. Huge step. I'm trying to catch up to the questions. John Hefner says, welcome aboard, sir. He had some good questions for you. Jim Siegel, I think he's a friend of yours. He says, welcome, Gary. Welcome, Mr. Unger.
Hi, Jim.
Rob says, welcome. Jeff says, Unger. So they're enjoying the fact that you're here on the show, and I really appreciate it. I know you followed the Blues a lot. Right now, the Knights are just really, really hot. What do you think? Do you think the Blues can beat them tonight?
Well, I'm thinking that these type of games are good for them. The teams that are tough to play against make you play to the top of your game.
I agree.
So when they're better off to be playing those teams, and I'm looking at their schedule, over the last month or so, and they seem to beat the top teams, but the bottom teams give them a struggle. So it may be a little bit of a mental thing. Sometimes you think the other games are going to be easier, but going into the playoffs, you want to have the toughest games you can have. You don't want to rest. You want to go right in fighting every play, every battle.
Yeah, they've got the 2 games against the Knights, 2 late night games. Then they have Monday against the Kings, which is another late night game, and then they finish on Wednesday and Thursday against the Wild. The way the playoff scenario is the Blues have to get one more point, one more point than the Kings. So if we win tonight in any fashion and the Kings lose in any fashion, it's over. We're in the playoffs.
That would be tonight, but the only way that the Kings are going to catch them, what are they, 4 or 6 points off?
Yeah, they have to win out.
Is win every game.
Yeah.
You're going to have to win every game.
Right, and we do play them one, so you've got that game where you can just shut them down. Even if you don't get points in these 2, you still got the one against them, and that kind of helps you.
You can kind of control your own destiny.
Control your own destiny. So I got to ask you, from your time when you guys played, when you got down to this point, if you weren't in the playoffs, what was the thought process or what was the feeling when you were trying to get into the playoffs and the playoff push?
Well, when you're at that level, you're a professional and you're pushing to play every game. But whether you're in the playoffs or out of the playoffs, you're still trying to finish strong. You're trying to finish the season strong. You're trying to finish the season. So, first of all, some guys might be looking at new contracts or different things that are happening, but there's no easy games, whether you're in or out. But if you're fighting for a spot, like I said before, it seems to keep you a little bit more tuned to the type of hockey that you're going to be playing in about 2 weeks when you go into the playoffs, because every game is going to be. Every play, every period, every time you step on the ice, you can't make a mistake. You've got to be playing at the top of your game.
Oh, well, I mean, that's what I've heard that a lot. So Richard Campbell asks, Gary, what's your best hockey memory?
Wow. My brain would go haywire if I'm looking for one memory that, because I have memories at all different levels of hockey. I actually ended up going over to over to Dundee, Scotland, and playing in the British Hockey League for.
Oh yeah, we
5
talked about
years
that.
after I did some work with the Edmonton Oilers and the television crew. But one of my major times was the time that we beat Minnesota out in the 7th game of the playoffs in Minnesota in overtime.
Yeah.
And put us into the second round, and we went back to the airport. I think we didn't get in until 4:00 in the morning. And when we got to the airport, there was 15,000 people at the airport.
Yeah, it was like that was 75 or 76, if I remember right.
Yeah, somewhere around that time.
Yeah.
I think Danny O'Shea scored in overtime and give us the 7th game. We had to win the 6th game back in St. Louis, so we were down 3-2 in the series. So we had to win the last two games of the series. So
aren't those fun though when you've got to win those two? I mean, the adrenaline. It actually seems like a lot of times when that team is down 3-2, if they win that 6th game, they're going to win Game 7.
Absolutely, yeah. You're really pumped to play that kind of game, and everybody is looking for that kind of game to be in.
Right. So here's another good question. And if you don't want to answer this, I understand. As an old school player, what's your thoughts on the Wilson situation, sir? That's from Chris Shockley. And just so you know, real quick, Chris Shockley is a member of the St. Louis Hockey Warriors, the Blues Hockey Warriors. So he's a disabled vet, and he just got his jersey the other day.
Oh, really? Great.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see the actual play.
Mm-hmm.
In hockey, there's a pile of scrums all the time. It's a very aggressive game. It's a high pressure game. When you're in that mode, there's sometimes you react to things that are happening on the ice to protect yourself or to keep your team in the proper position. And it seems to be that they're really tightening down on every little thing that happens in those type of situations.
Yeah.
So to be able to comment on it, it's really hard to know where the heads are of the guys that are involved in this thing, because what happened 2 minutes before that was somebody speared, was somebody whacked. The game is so high intensity that all these things are going on, and all of a sudden it just explodes.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything about the league. I know it's affecting some really good friends of mine, which is Glenn Sather in New York.
Yeah.
John Davidson's a good friend who just got released by the Rangers.
Yeah.
I hate to see that happen over one incident when
Yeah.
they've got a track record of a great career, and he's a great JD is a great general manager and a president of the Rangers. That affected his life. So I don't like to see those type of things. One of the things that I heard about, one of the things that's kind of an unwritten law in hockey and in our era anyhow, is you didn't do much to the guys that were, once the guy was knocked down on the ice, you didn't hit him again. You didn't go at him again. I don't know if that's still a rule. It should be, because a guy's pretty vulnerable once he's laying on the ice.
Yeah, and I think that's what has a lot of people upset, is that when the two guys that he hit, it wasn't one, he hit two, both laying prone on the ice, and the second one he threw the ice and he's now out for the season. But I appreciate your answer on that. Ryan Green asked, I was wondering if you kept any gear from when you played, and if you did, what did you say for yourself?
I missed that one. Sorry.
If you kept any gear that you played from when you played.
Any of my hockey stuff?
Yeah.
I got trunk loads full of hockey stuff.
You have anything that you kept that has like a solid memory to it, or from?
Well, when you take some of that stuff out of your bag after it's been in the attic for a while, you look at it and you say, how did we ever play with those skates or those shoulder pads? Because the stuff is so modern nowadays, and so heavy duty shoulder pads, elbow pads, all those type of things. I don't have any helmets put away.
Yeah.
I never wore a helmet.
Yeah, you never wore a helmet. Yeah, that's right. You had your blonde hair flowing.
It's more so your jerseys and things like
Yeah.
that. But
Do you
back
have-
then, you know, the guys that kept a lot of stuff are kind of guys that kind of thought, well, I don't know how long I'm going to play. Once you're a player and you start to play a lot, like I sat beside Wayne Gretzky in the dressing room. I sat beside Gordie Howe in the dressing room. I was in the dressing room with all the Blues guys, Bobby Plager and Bart Plager and, you know, Bernie Federko and Brian Sutter and all these guys that were great players. And if somebody asked for a stick, if they're looking for a Bernie Federko stick, I'd go to Bernie and say, can you sign this stick for me? And then I'd give it away.
Mm-hmm.
If I was only playing for a couple of years or I was only there for 1 year and I'm thinking, if Bernie Federko gives me a stick, I'm going to keep it. I'm not giving it to anybody.
Yeah.
So
no,
a lot of
I'm
the
with you
stuff
on that one.
I gave it up or I gave it to somebody else or I had a puck or I had something else. And a lot of that stuff went out the window.
Do you have anything from your last game of the Ironman streak?
I got a broken heart.
Oh, sorry. I did not. I feel so bad now for asking that question.
No, that's fine. But no, I don't. Just the memory of it was kind of ugly, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't have to get it. So the next question is, what was it like to play the outdoor game between the Hawks and the Blues?
Well, those outdoor games are really fun. I mean, it brings you right back to when you were a kid, because I never played indoors until I was 14 years old. We played all our hockey in Edmonton and Calgary, where I lived in Alberta in the wintertime. And we shoveled the rink before the game, and we played on outdoor rinks. And, you know, the outdoor game takes you right back to that. The one in Edmonton, the very first one in Edmonton, was against the Montreal Canadiens and the Edmonton Oilers, and it was 25 below when that game went on. So, and then the one in Detroit against the Maple Leafs was pretty exciting because Gordie was still around, and a lot of the older Detroit Red Wing guys were around. So it was that was a pretty unique situation.
Mm-hmm. This is another really good question here. What's your best memory of Bobby Plager?
Bobby Plager, well, again, you know, when you play with a guy for 5, 6, 7 years, to pick one memory out, I guess it was possibly some of the times that we had away from the game. Like the players now are all, I think they've got their own jet, and they go to the airport and they fly to other places, and they don't see any people in the concourse or anything like that. A lot of our fun times was in airports and in airplanes. We sat at the back of the plane. There was regular people at the front of the plane trying to figure out who these idiots were at the back of the plane that were putting shaving cream on guys' heads and cutting ties off, and guys were walking off the plane with no shoes, and, you know, the suit bag was disappeared, you know, all those type of things. And Bobby was right in the middle of all that stuff. I mean, if there was anything going on with guys fooling around with other guys in the dressing room, or you know, you came in and back then white shoes were kind of in vogue, and I came in one time in between at the end of the game, and I wore a really nice white belt and a nice white pair of shoes, matched really good. I was looking really cool, and the whole team had signed the shoes and my belt. You know, so that type of stuff is in my memory.
Do you still have those shoes in that belt?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I think I burned them.
Oh, you know what those would be worth now? Oh my goodness.
The light needs to be on, I think.
Yeah, it would be helpful with the light.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite goalie to score on?
Anytime the puck went in the net against any goalie, it was a great time. You know, you know how to turn that light on? I'm going to see if I can get some more light on here for you.
Oh, no problem. You're good right now.
Okay. No, it won't go on. I guess one of the teams that I do remember that was Cheevers. Cheevers was a great goalie.
Yeah.
He stopped everything, and he had this mask that he'd marked it with stitches. in his mask. Wherever he got hit with a puck, he would write in with a pen stitches on his mask. And I remember hitting him a couple of times and him smiling at me because the puck didn't go in. So that was one of the goalies. The other goalie was, I was in Montreal. We were playing the Canadiens, and the day before we were playing a 2-game series against Montreal. So we ended up staying overnight in Montreal and then going to practice the next day. We had a day off in between, and we went to practice, and we ended up going and catching the Montreal Canadiens practice before we went on the ice. So we watched the practice, and they did 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s, all this stuff. And I don't think they scored more than 2 or 3 goals on Ken Dryden the whole practice.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of got inside your head a little bit that this guy is almost impossible to score against. So we go into the game the next day, and I'm thinking about watching him make these saves and all that stuff. And all of a sudden I get a breakaway. And all these things are running through my head. So I'm flying down the ice. There's Guy Lapointe's chasing me, and I'm going down the ice on Ken Dryden, and I go to make a deke, and I deke to the left, and I lost the puck. Well, he followed me to the left, and the puck slid to the right and went into the net. I had nothing to do with it. It wasn't a deke. It wasn't a great play. It looked like it from the stands that I made an unbelievable play. So I came back to the bench, and the guy said, "Wow, that was a great deke." And I said, "Thanks."
I love it. I love it. I love it. Who do you think is going to come out of the West this year?
Well, you know, it's so difficult when you get into the playoffs. Once you get into the playoffs, you're talking every game is won by one play in overtime. There's one goal in a game that you could have been a little bit better defensively to play against. You made a little bit of a mistake, maybe a mistake that a fan wouldn't see, but you know in your own mind, if I had got that puck out over the blue line, I was 2 feet inside the blue line, and I tried to make a fancy play, and I didn't get it off the boards and out. That type of thing that the play could go either way. And it also showed, you know, when you had Bennington, the goalie in St. Louis, got hot in the playoffs. If you don't have a hot goalie, anything can happen. If you do have a hot goalie, the guy's got confidence to play for that. So I really have a tough time because you have teams that end up with lower points than anybody else that's in the playoffs, and they end up being the toughest guys to play. So it's really hard to make a decision on who's going to go and who's not. And it depends on the first 2 or 3 games that you're playing in the playoffs when you get on a roll. The other thing that's really in effect is injuries. You know, you've got so many guys that are playing with injuries. They're playing hurt. There's a difference between being hurt and being injured. If you're injured, you're struggling. If you're hurt, you're taped up, you're playing through stuff. Everybody's taped up, everybody's hurt, and you're just driving through. So big injuries really hurt teams, whether it be a goalie or a big defenseman that you've got in your lineup. So when you get into the playoffs, and that's why it's so important to get into the playoffs, no matter whether you squeak in or whether you're in first place all season, that you just make it in, because at that point, everybody's on an even playing field and anything can happen.
Yep. Did you keep the yellow skates?
You know what? I had a pair of skates. We do a bunch of card shows, and there's a few guys in St. Louis that have different companies that they bring us in to do card shows, and a pair of skates showed up one time, and I didn't keep them.
So you don't have those famous yellow skates?
No.
Next question. So Marianne Holmes says, do you remember Doc Runco?
Yeah.
That's her grandfather.
Oh, is that right? Eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Mary
that
and
was why I was really excited.
or her uncle, one of the two.
was really excited for the Blues to win the Stanley Cup that year, because there was so many fans, and now the fans were the grandparents had passed away and the grandkids were watching the game, and the reason they were watching the game is because the grandparents took them to the games, and the fans in St. Louis followed the team through good and bad, all the way through those many years of 50 years of hockey, of ups and downs, and and it was so exciting for me to see the city of St. Louis and the fans that made that happen, as well as the organization as well. But there's so many fans like that where they look back and say, man, I wish my grandfather was alive.
Oh yeah. So you kind of answered this. How would it feel for you when you watched the Blues win that cup?
Well, that's kind of how I felt.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I really
what was
it was for
what was Gretzky like in the locker room as a captain?
Gretzky is a great kid. I mean, he was a kid back then when I first started playing with him. I was kind of at the end of my career, and he was at the start of his career. He was about 21 or 22 at the time. I wished I could have been on that team with Mark Messier and Glenn Anderson and Kevin Lowe and all the different guys that played on that team, Yuri Curry, and they had a great team. I wish I could have been at their age, because it was like a junior team. It was fun to play in. And like I say, I was getting it toward the end of my career, so I would have liked to have been able to compete a little bit better, compete a little bit more, be a little bit more in the lineup than I was at that particular time. But Gretz was always a great teammate, a great leader in the dressing room. Like I say, it was like a junior team that we played. At the end of practice, we'd practice for an hour and a half. At the end of practice, the coaches would go off the ice. We'd throw our sticks in the middle, just like when we were little kids. One of us guys would get down on our knees and throw 3 sticks over there and 3 sticks over there. Andy Moog was in one net and Grant Fuhr was in the other end, and we'd play 3-on-3 hockey for an hour or two after practice, just having fun.
Oh wow! Just to watch that, for someone to watch that would have been just amazing.
That was more fun than the games.
Oh, I'm sure. So Richard wants to know, if a fan asked you for an autographed jersey, hat, or stick from you, would you send them one?
Well, I don't have any to send.
Okay.
I do a lot of signing of jerseys and sticks and different like that when I do these card shows, but people have their own
stuff to sign,
memorabilia that we sign. As far as my own stuff, that's going to my grandkids. I have a little grandkid that's 9 that was just on Jackson. He's a player. And he's going to have a chance to maybe do something with hockey. And those type of things are kind of family things that you keep.
Absolutely. Understood.
Reasons. Yeah.
Understood. Same thing with my Navy stuff. I'm hoping that someday my daughters will want it.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Any good memories with the Atlanta Flames? Actually, I already know the answer to that one. We've talked extensively about that one on the interviews.
Yeah, Atlanta Flames was a difficult situation, because what they had done has gone out and got a bunch of forwards that had all been goal scorers, all been gunners. And on a team, you need a good mix of checkers, penalty killers, goal scorers. And the goal scorers aren't goal scorers unless the penalty killers and the checkers and the grinders are all helping you out to get the puck and all that stuff. And when you end up on a team where everybody is kind of the same type of player, we're all goal scorers and we're all used to playing on the power play. We're all used to being on the ice a lot, and you can only use so many guys on the power play. You don't get the same amount of ice time that you like to, and there sometimes becomes a little bit of a competition within your own team to try and get more ice time. But I have a lot of really good memories from the Atlanta Flames, even though we didn't do an awful lot in the playoffs or anything like that. But I have some great friends from out of there. Darcy Rhoda was a player that I played against for years, and all of a sudden I'm playing with him. Bobby McMillan was on the team in St. Louis with us, and he was playing in St. Louis. Kurt Bennett was on the team.
Yep.
There was all sorts of guys. And that's one of the really unique things about playing the game of hockey or any sport that you play in, is that the people that you meet, the friends that you meet, the traveling that you get to do.
Yeah.
I loved living in Georgia. I had my motorcycle down in Georgia and got to travel around. I came into practice one day and the guys were all saying, I never really was much of a golfer. And the guys were saying, we're going to go golfing after practice. Do you want to go? And I said, well, where are you going? And they said, well, we're going to go to Augusta. And I said, how far is Augusta? And they said, it's about 60 miles. And I said, I'm not driving 60 miles to play golf.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So,
So, hey, everyone, this is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan. Joining me today on the BlueNote Fan Report is Garry Unger. We're brought to you today by Forrest Crump Enterprises, War Stories Coffee, and a buddy of his, Mike Zook Enterprises. Check out stlfanreport.com for more information and keep your questions coming. Ryan Green has a really good question. I like this one. How hard is it to get in the league today versus when you were a kid?
Well, when I was a kid, there was only 6 teams.
Yeah, it's actually was probably harder then.
So pick the numbers that are they're able to get in the NHL when there's 6 teams. Now there's 30 teams, and that's not a knock against anybody that's playing, but there's a lot more positions open. Now, the other thing that I was right on the borderline of is all the nutrition stuff and the personal trainers and the gyms and the workout in the summertime and all the different things that they were keeping in shape with to be a better player. So I think the players today are in better shape. They've got more information on how to be a better athlete. And, the skating is the equipment is a lot better. I think the guys are faster skaters, but you still have to have some hockey IQ. You still have to know what the game is all about. You still have to know how to play the game when you don't have the puck. You still have to know where to go in the quiet zones to get a pass when everybody's scrumming out the rest of the game. So, and back your wingers up and back your defenseman up and back your goalie up and do all those things. So the game, that part of the game hasn't changed, but the idea of the speed of the game and the way the guys shoot the puck, the way the sticks are nowadays. We used to use a stick that was cut off a tree and you just stuck it together.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad, but now they got the fancy sticks that cost $400 for one stick. We used to get a dozen sticks, custom made wooden sticks for $144 for a dozen sticks. So
wow, no wonder there's so many of them sticks out there.
There's a lot of different things that happened, and that's when people ask me the difference: who was better, Gretzky or Gordie Howe, or Gretzky and Bobby Orr,
David.
That type of thing. It's really hard. Now, there's no way that all those players wouldn't be in the league, for sure.
Yeah.
But where they would fit, they would still be in the upper echelon of the league. But where they would fit is almost impossible to figure out, just because of all the things I was talking about things that have changed in the game, the rules that have changed. There's that 2-line pass now.
Yeah.
When there was a 2-line pass, you had to stay back in the zone.
Yep.
And to get a pass from the defenseman. You couldn't be wheeling out and cutting across the far blue line at the far end and have some guy throw one off the boards and you could pick it up, at the other end of the ice. So all those things made the game different. It's better. It's a good game, but it was a great game to watch when we played as well.
Here's another good question for you. Who's your favorite team now?
Now?
Yeah.
Obviously I follow the Blues. I used to like the Rangers. I'm not sure where I'm at right now after all this stuff that just went on with the Rangers because of Glenn Sather's been a good friend for a long
Yeah.
time. And but whatever happened there, I think it was a little bit overblown. You know, I watched some of the Canadian teams. Obviously, I played with Edmonton. I didn't play with Calgary, but Calgary is a team that came from Atlanta. So I played with the Atlanta Flames the year before they moved to Calgary. So I watched those guys, and I coached a few years out in Vancouver. So a lot of these teams are teams that I still skate with the alumni when I'm in town. The Red Wings have always been a favorite team of mine because of Gordie Howe. So I don't really have a favorite team, but obviously Blues are right up there at the top.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know you were recently at Bobby's funeral, and you know, with the COVID and stuff, that wasn't easy for you to get to. But I mean, that was greatly appreciated. I did watch that whole funeral, and that was so well done. I just got to admit,
they did a great job. They really did a great job, and Bobby had been there for years and years and years, and the people that he met, you know, in the town, the fans outside the game. You know, there's just an amazing amount of people there, and that's why it was such a wonderful place to play, because of the backing of the fans and the different people that you met. I still have piles of friends in St. Louis that still go to the games. They're huge Blues fans, and I see them all the time when I go into St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a regular there when COVID's not there. You're very active in the alumni. And we greatly appreciate that. And I greatly appreciate you coming on and doing this show and talking to us. Oh, Lance the Scott says, and Lance has his own podcast, The Drop. Tell Gary, I remember him playing against the Blackhawks and Keith Magnuson in January of 78.
January of 78?
78, yep.
Okay. So one of the things that happens when you come into the league as a rookie is that guys are testing you.
Mm-hmm.
Guys are trying to see how you're going to react when you get whacked into the boards, or whether a scrum starts, or whether a guy spears you in the corner when the referee didn't see it. And one of the things I decided really early, and part of it was Noel Picard and Bobby Plager when I played for Detroit, was that when these guys were whacking me in front of the net, and Keith Magnuson was another guy, King Kong Korab was another guy that played for the Hawks. They had these huge defensemen, and I'm playing center, and where do I have to go? I got to go in the slot area, and that's where these guys are protecting. And one of the things that I decided really early, and I had to do it when I played junior in Alberta, because I'm playing in farm country, and these farm boys that I'm playing against are pretty tough, is I needed to learn to fight. I needed to learn to take care of myself. And what I did was I went through the league, and I picked one guy on each team, and I fought him. And guys after a while would say, oh, well, maybe I might not want to fight that guy. Maybe I'll pick somebody else that maybe doesn't want to fight. So the one thing that I was trying to set myself up for was not having to have a winger on my right wing or my left wing that was going to protect me. I was going to protect myself. So Magnuson was one of those guys. Korab was one of those guys. A funny story at the start of, like I said, when I was a rookie, I'm playing for Detroit, and I'm getting pounded by the Montreal Canadiens. And so Serge Savard was the guy that I decided I was going to go after. And I fought Serge, knocked him down in the corner. And all of a sudden, here comes John Ferguson. John Ferguson was like a freight train. So I grabbed the linesman, and the other linesman had a hold of Ferguson. And I'm yelling at Ferguson. I'm yelling at the linesman, the other linesman. I'm saying, let him go. I'll kill that guy. I'll kill that guy. And then I whispered to the guy that was holding me. I said, if you let go of me, I'm going to kill you. I'm putting on a pretty good front here, but do not step away and let this John Ferguson come after me, because I could be in big trouble. So you got to pick your spots. You got to pick your spots.
I'm dying. That is great, man. Did you ever play in Grand Prairie or Red Deer?
Oh yeah, yeah. My grandmother was from Red Deer. My grandmother had a rink at the back of her house. She would make it. I had actually an uncle that lived right next door to my grandma, and they had a little rink, and I would come home or go there, to visit them, and I'd have my skates on the whole time. We used to walk up the stairs and put our skates on in the house, and then go outside and skate in these little rinks. So Red Deer was a major place for me. I learned to ride horses in Grand Prairie. My other grandfather was in Grand Prairie, so all the Ungers were up in Grand Prairie. So I spent my summers up there, but I didn't do much skating in Grand Prairie because it was in the summertime when I did. But it was more horses, and actually broke my arm on a horse when I was 12 years old in Grand Prairie. I learned to rope cattle in Grand Prairie. When I had a broken arm, I had my cast on, and I tied the one end of the lasso around my cast, and then I went out into the field, and I was practicing lassoing calves, and I lassoed a 600-pound calf, and it was dragging me around the field. And my cousin, the other end was stuck on my cast, and my cousins come and rescued me. Otherwise, I'd have been dragged right through the barn area there. So, yeah. So
man,
Alberta
what a childhood! What a childhood! You broke a couple of things riding horses, because you told us during the interview that we did with you about breaking your back riding a horse.
That was in Detroit. Yeah,
in Detroit.
I didn't tell him I broke it on a horse because I didn't want him to tell me that I couldn't ride horses anymore. So I told him that I slipped on a diving board.
Oh, I love it. I kind of know the answer to this one, but how often are you putting the skate-a-thon these days, and do you miss the thrill of finishing a check on a player into the boards?
Oh, I love the game. The problem now is, and I do skate all the time. I've been working at the Banff Hockey Academy, and because of the COVID and all that stuff, there's been some big changes there. But the last 10 years I've worked at the Banff Hockey Academy, and I pretty well skated every day. Bill Doherty is the owner of the Banff Hockey Academy. He's from Montreal and a great hockey man. Didn't play an awful lot in the NHL, went to Ranger camp, but is a great mentor of kids. And I skated every day there, probably went to the gym every day there. But the problem now is you skate yourself to the point where you need some work on your body. You take such a pounding during, I've been skating since I was 3 years old. So about probably 15, maybe a little less years ago, all of a sudden my knees started going. Now I never missed a shift with my knees as I played, but as I started getting older, my knees started getting old. Anyhow, long story short, I've had both my knees replaced and both my hips. Now that's been unbelievable because I can ride a bike and I can ski and I can skate and I can do all those other things. But I used to be bow-legged, and now my legs are straight. So I had to learn to skate all over again. So my gait and my balance and all that stuff. So when I go on the ice, which I love to do, I still think I can do things. And all of a sudden I find myself laying in the corner, laying on my back in the corner because I tried to make one of those little fancy moves that I used to be able to do, and I can't do it anymore because my legs aren't balanced the same way as they used to be. It's not quite as much fun.
Yeah. So, hey, did you ever get into coaching, or were you ever offered a chance to be a GM or in the front office of a team?
Well, what happened was when I retired from Edmonton was the last team that I played on. I did a couple of years of television work, and I was playing all the alumni games, all the benefit games that they were playing. And I was still, capable of playing. But the team was so good at that time that it was time to, the league was getting so good that it was time to not play at that level. And that's when a guy came to me from Dundee, Scotland, and asked me if I wanted to go over and be the player coach for the Dundee Rockets in the British Ice Hockey
Yep.
League. So I actually did start coaching there, but I was a player coach. So it was a lot easier when the guys came to me in my first coaching position when I was with Dundee. They said, okay, what are we going to do on the power play? I'm standing at the board. They're all in there, and I've got my equipment on as well. And I said, well, I'm really not sure how the X and O's of the power play work. But I said, if I'm on the ice with you, give me the puck. I'll shoot it in the net, and the power play will be over. So that was my first lesson to my team because I was a player. Once I started being the coach, then I had to figure out where the X's and O's were and where the defenseman had to do, and we had to do the umbrella, and we had to do the breakout and all those things. But I did coach several years in England, and then I got an opportunity to come back over to North America, and I coached in the International League. I coached in the American League. I coached in the Central League in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a long time for the Tulsa Oilers. And I've been coaching junior hockey in Vancouver and in New Mexico and all over the place. So I really have been coaching, but not at an NHL level.
So you're not in the St. Louis area, correct?
No, I'm in Alberta.
You're in Alberta, right? So one of the things that I was kind of that we've been talking about and that we've talked together was your love of the city of St. Louis and how much fun you had there. And we talked about the farm that you had out there. Have you ever been back to that farm or what that land is now?
Oh, yes, for sure. I go back there every time I go there. So, it's one of my dreams when I was a kid. You have all these dreams that you put together in your mind of what you want to do. And obviously, playing professional hockey, playing in the National Hockey League is at the top of the list. But I wanted to be a cowboy. Going from my grandfather's farm when I was out there, my dad was raised on the farm. I wasn't actually raised on a farm, but I spent the summers there. And one of my loves was horses. And I was able to do that in St. Louis. The Solomons had a farm out in Gray Summit, Missouri. Mm-hmm. And we lived out there as single guys, Floyd Thompson and myself. There was the other single guys. Phil Roberta was around. Mike Murphy was around. A guy named Gene Carr was another guy. They were kind of in and out, but they didn't want to stay out at the farm as much as we did because they wanted to be closer into the city scene. But Mr. Solomon showed up one day at the farm and said, I need to show you something. And he took me over to this 200-acre farm that I ended up buying, and raising some quarter horses and raising some cattle. So that was really a highlight of my life, is being able to live on the farm and play hockey as well.
So Gary, we're getting really close to the end of this. So I have a pick'em contest that I do on my website. And since you're my guest tonight, I'm going to let you make my picks for me. So between the Blues and the Knights, who wins tonight?
Well, it's probably going to go into overtime.
Okay.
The Knights already have they're in the playoffs. Yeah. So I'm not sure if they're playing all their regular guys. They may be giving some guys a little bit of a rest for the playoffs. So I'm going to say the Blues probably clinch it tonight because they've got a lot more on the line when they're playing in this game.
Okay. And what do you think the score will be?
It'll be low.
Low.
3-2.
3-2. Good pick. And which player on the Blues do you pick to click? Do you think is going to get the points?
Is going to get the overtime winning goal?
Or any points? So they pick a player and they get that player's points, or you pick the goalie and you get 1 point per 10 shots against, but -1 for each goal allowed.
Who's their leading defenseman? Who's leading the team with the Blues on defense?
On defense, I think it's Falk, but it's either Falk or Krug, but Krug's not playing, so it might be Falk.
So he's going to
Bortuzzo's playing. Well, here Bortuzzo's playing his 300th game with the Blues tonight.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Well, he's going to get the goal. The defenseman's going to get the goal from the shot from the point with the tip.
Okay. So you're going to go with Falk?
Yeah.
There we go, everyone. There's my picks. I showed them to you on the screen. You got to see them. Those are my picks. Well, Gary, we're just about out of time. Any last words, anything you want to say to the fans in St. Louis or to the Blue Note Fan Report, anything that you got on your mind?
No, just the time that I spent in St. Louis, I was single as I went there. I got married while I was there. I had 2 of my daughters in St. Louis. I had my farm in St. Louis. The people that I met in St. Louis that are still friends now, guys like Larry Patey and Bruce Affleck and guys that I played with.
Yeah.
It was just an amazing time of my life. It was something, I still meet people in the airport when I'm traveling, and I'm wondering how they even know, because I played so many years ago, but somehow they recognize me and come and start talking about the Blues hockey. And it, like I say, it was just such a special time of my life that I have nothing but great memories of being in St. Louis and being around that time when I was able to learn to be a man and learn to grow up and learn to be a hockey player.
I kind of know the answer to this one. Richard wants to know if you still speak to a lot of your former teammates.
Oh yeah. I talk to them all the time.
All the time.
Being in Alberta, it was hard to get to alumni games and different things that they were doing. If there were some big events, I would try and get some time off from doing the job that I was doing at the Banff Hockey Academy. But now that this pandemic is broke and there's no travel anyhow, but once that the travel gets normal again, I'll probably be spending a lot more time in St. Louis doing some alumni things because I won't be working probably full time at a job in Canada.
Yeah, understood. When you were in St. Louis, did you follow the Cardinals?
Yeah, I like baseball. I mainly follow the World Series. Lou Brock was one of my favorite players, and I think I'm like any other fan. I met Lou Brock and went for dinner with him. I met Stan Musial. I was fortunate enough to meet some of these guys. The other guy that I remember was a guy named the Mad Hungarian.
Al Harbarsky.
Yeah, that we used to hang around at Jackie Smith's bar in I think it was in Clayton, and a lot of these guys used to come in, so you used to meet these guys at different times. So when you're a fan and you actually meet somebody that played, like when somebody meets me as a younger guy, they end up saying, well, I'm going to follow that guy's career. So I did follow Lou Brock. I think Bob Gibson was there. Went down to practice a couple of times, went to a bunch of games. There was a guy that had a jewelry store down in Dorian Magowitz, his name was. That name just popped into my head. I'm not sure if he's still around or not, but he was a good friend, and he was a huge baseball guy. So he used to, get me tickets, and we'd go and watch the games. Yeah.
So actually, I mean, when you mentioned both Brock and Gibson, because we both lost them last year, and then losing Bobby this year, the area lost 3 great ambassadors for their regular sports. And speaking of ambassadors, we kind of saw something last night. So David Backus, a couple days ago, basically played his last game. And Joan asked, do you think David should be allowed to come back to St. Louis for one game to retire as a Blue? And did they ever do things like that when you were playing?
Well, it's things that are made in movies. It would be nice to do that kind of thing. I don't know of anything like that happening. I do know of some of those things happening, because didn't they do some things with Gordie Howe? allowing him to play in an all-star game in Detroit. And there was some things that went on there. But
They let him play in a couple
David
AHL
Backes
games.
was a great captain. I got to spend some time with them when they had that captain's night. They brought all the captains into St. Louis, and I didn't know David before. He's a strong Christian guy, a leader on the team, and it would be nice if they would do something like that. But I'm sure that he's going to be probably doing some stuff with the St. Louis alumni as well.
Yeah, there's a good chance that he's probably going to move back to St. Louis. At least that's what I've been told. So I could definitely see him doing something with the alumni. He was now I seen something online, and I wanted to ask you about this. There online, I seen this picture of the captains, the living captains that were there that night.
Yeah.
Do you, by any chance, still have any copies of that?
I probably do. I don't have stuff hanging in my house.
Yeah.
Again, that kind of stuff I usually sign and give away.
Yeah.
I've got lots of friends that are hockey people and like that kind of thing. I have a bunch of stuff. I have a trunk that has a bunch of stuff in it. But I travel so much.
Yeah. That
I travel with a backpack, and I don't carry a lot of memorabilia with me.
Well, I know you and me have talked. I have Mike Hoffman's Bobby Plager jersey, the one that they wore the Saturday after he passed. I have that signed jersey, and that's going to be my signature jersey, the one that I get you guys to sign. I know, and I can't wait. That's why I'm hoping to go in September so I can meet a lot of you guys and get you guys to sign that jersey, because that would be something special to me. Gary, thank you so much. I mean, this has just been absolutely amazing to have you on here tonight. Thanks for answering all the questions. We had a good amount of people. The questions were great. Again, and thank you for your friendship. I got to say that. I know we had some difficulty trying to get this set up, but thank you for your patience and your tolerance and just being the person that you are.
Well, anything I can do to talk to fans. I know how important role models are to people that are growing up and watching a game, or they have teams that they love, and it's not just hockey, it's football, baseball, all sorts of sports. And it doesn't take any more time to stop for a few minutes, look somebody in the eye, answer a question, ask them how they're doing, that type of thing, as opposed to just signing an autograph and moving on.
Yeah.
Because you can really make somebody's day. And how many guys get an opportunity to say, I gave somebody some real joy in their life. So it's a privilege for me to be able to do it. I'm humbled to be able to do it. And I love St. Louis, and I love everything about what the game is all about.
My buddy John Hefner says, Guy will buy that trunk for $1,000 without looking into it. That's only if you give me the $1,000, Hef. Well, guys, thank you so much. Gary, again, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I'm in awe of you. And tomorrow I have, and I'm so bad with names and I don't want to screw the name up. I'm so mad at myself. I'm just in what do you call it? Fangirling with having you here. I have Tony Curry coming on to be with me. He as soon as I told him I was going to, he goes, Ungie, tell him I said hi.
Yeah,
Tony
was a great player.
Yeah.
He was a great player when he came and played with the Blues. He was a gunner and a good friend. Yeah. Yep. I love Tony as well.
And you mentioned Kurt Bennett. I actually did an interview with him about 3 weeks ago that I haven't released yet because it's been just so much going on. I haven't had a chance to release it. So I got to finish that one up so I can release it. I'll probably do it as the playoff season goes. But hey, Gary, again, thank you so much. We'll keep in touch, and maybe we can get you on for another show. Maybe the Blues will take a deep run and we'll have you on for a deep playoff run.
Well, that could be good. I'd like to give a shout out to Eddie Stanowski as well.
Yeah.
Eddie doesn't live in St. Louis, but he's a good friend of mine.
Yes.
I know Jackman lives in St. Louis. I mean, there's so many guys that live in St. Louis that are great Blues alumni guys. I mean, the list goes on and on and on that you do. I've got a couple of new friends that I've met there that well, they're not new, but they weren't friends when I played, but they become friends later on in life. I've got a guy named Kevin Kaufman who has a business in St. Louis. John Mulrooney is turned into be a really good friend. He runs all the Taco Bells out in the Washington area where my farm was. So, Glendale Chrysler, Mike Opperman, he was one of the guys where all my cars came through. He's still a really good friend of mine. So, you go back to St. Louis and it's kind of like going home. Not too many people have a place or different places that they can go. They've got one place that they go back to that was home. I've got 1,000 of them, and St. Louis is right at the top of the list.
Well, yeah, we appreciate you, and we know you love the city. I think I asked you this before, but I can't remember. My short-term memory's gone. You didn't get to go to the parade, though, did you? Right?
No, I was in Alberta. We were still in the playoffs.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Columbia. I think we were out in Penticton, British Columbia, and it was really difficult to, you couldn't leave your team. Had the season been over, it would have been a different thing. I would have done whatever I could have done to get there, but it was just impossible.
Okay, everybody, the game's about to come on. This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, giving a much big round of applause and a huge thank you to Mr. Garry Unger. This is the BlueNote Fan Report. It's brought to you by Forrest Crump Enterprises, Mike Zuka Enterprises, and War Story Coffee. Check out stlfanreport.com for more information or search for him on Facebook. This is Guy saying aloha, mahalo, and I can't wait to see you guys on the intermission show when I'm going to have some Knights writers join me. Aloha, my friends, and see you soon.